Woo! Front end hopped around a little too.
First of all, welcome to the channel and thank you for stopping by. When time permits, please consider subscribing. I would greatly appreciate it. Today, we're here to talk about the front tire on my KTM 790 Adventure R. Fortunately, the owner of the bike prior to me had decided to put on Motoz tires, both back and front, when he decided to sell the bike, and I do appreciate that. However, while my experience with the Motoz Tractionator Adventure on the rear has been nothing but thumbs up so far, in the past 2,500 miles, I've had pretty much a disappointing experience with the RallZ that he put on the front. Now, if you go to the Facebook group for this bike and the 890, you will find glowing recommendations for the RallZ tire on the front of this bike, with the caveat that many people are putting tubes in it, as it seems Motoz tires tend to leak on the unusual way that KTM does their tubeless wheels. Fortunately, I've not experienced that, but let's take a look at the tire and discuss what has made it a very much less than ideal tire for me. Okay, what we have here is the RallZ tire, the 90/90/21. And taking a look at it, it doesn't look that bad for 2,500 miles. Let's go over what's good about it first. I do believe that this tire would get maybe 3,500 miles, which for an aggressive knobby on a bike this heavy, I would consider to be in line with good longevity. Nothing amazing, nothing so short that you don't feel like you're getting your money's worth, but every 3,500 miles or so, you would probably be changing it if you're doing 75% pavement and 25% off-road, which is about what I've done with this bike so far. So longevity, not bad at all. The other plus is it is a soft compound with tall knobs. What that means is if you are in mud, it's going to go right through it, grip, and pull you out. If you're on gravel, it's going to grip really, really well. And if you are in hard packed dirt, more or less, it will be okay. So that's the pluses for the tire. If you're going to be aggressively riding it off-road in most conditions, this tire is going to treat you amazingly well. It never steps out. It never wanders. Really good tire off-road in most circumstances. The only place off-road that I found that it's not particularly great is in the specific area I am, which is upstate New York with quite a few rocks. Now, these knobs, as I mentioned earlier, are tall and they are soft. It's been 95 plus degrees almost every day in the month of July, which is when I've owned this bike. And I have found that if you are here in our rock gardens, these knobs fold and slide on rocks when it's really, really warm. More than a few times I have found myself going along just fine, and when I have to cross over large rocks, the front end just starts to slide off, and I swear to God, I can feel the knobs starting to bend. But I don't think that's going to be a problem in most locations. If you're in really, really warm weather, this beautifully soft compound that gives you all the benefit off-road is going to give a little. And if you have a bunch of rocks, be ready to slip and slide just a little bit. Now, the reason this tire is not for me is because I didn't buy this bike to ride aggressively off-road. I bought this bike to ride on the road, on the gravel, in the sand, on the dirt, in the mud, in about, best case scenario, a 60/40. That is 60% on the road because that's how you get to the fun places. That's how you get to places you've never been. And 40% to have a great time once I get there. And while this tire absolutely positively guarantees me a great time when I get there, it makes it downright miserable getting there. This tire is terrible on the road. I've read reviews where people say it doesn't bother them at all. Literally, someone said to me in a comment when I was asking about its roadworthiness, you can lean over this just like a sport bike. I have no idea how talented that rider is. I ride a sport bike. I've owned 4 of them. I absolutely positively cannot ride this like a 50/50 tire, much less like a sport bike. Going back to the knobs, they are tall and they are soft. If you come into a nice corner, this tire is downright sketchy. When I lean this bike over, the rear Motoz, it's great. Those side lugs grab, they grip, they slide when they need to. It is an amazing tire in the twisties. These bend, these flex, they do not respond consistently. You will be in a corner, maintaining a lean, maintaining your balance, and the front tire just starts doing things. It is not consistent. And I don't know about you, but when I'm leaning my bike over, when I'm trying to enjoy a twisty road, I need consistency or I'm not having a good time. I don't need to wonder whether my front tire is going to slide out on me. Now, this is, I believe Motoz calls it an 80/20 tire. So it is not designed for the road at all. It is designed to connect trails. And while I appreciate the owner putting this tire on the bike, I honestly don't feel, after riding it in every condition other than snow and sand, that this is an adventure tire. I think this is an off-road tire. If I were to put this on my Honda CRF 250L, this would be awesome. I would absolutely love this tire. The longevity would be fine, the price would be a little high but good, and the traction would be phenomenal. But when you put it on this bike, which is heavy, high power, and dual disc, great brakes, it's just not a good tire. It's going to wear a little more quickly than it should. It's going to fail to perform at speed. It's going to fail to perform while heavy braking. And what's the point of having a dual disc system if I can't use the brakes when I want to? And with this, again, sketchy is the word for this tire on the road. Unless you are riding incredibly carefully, this is not the tire, in my opinion, for a bike like this. I think it was a terrible mistake to put it on, and I absolutely would not use this tire. So, in conclusion, if you have a 790 or an 890, unless you plan to ride 75 or 80% off road, in which case I think you bought the wrong bike, I don't believe this tire is going to serve you well. I believe a Motoz would serve you better. I believe a TKC 80 would serve you better. I believe a Motoz Adventure would serve you better. Perhaps a dual venture would, but unfortunately, I have heard that they also leak on these bikes. So that may not be the ideal choice. Well, that's just my opinion of the tire. Yours will vary. Take it with a grain of salt. I haven't been riding this bike for that long. I have ridden my KLR 650, which was just as heavy as this bike, if not heavier. And I've ridden my weighed down 390 Adventure that comes within 50 or 60 pounds of this. And my experience with other tires has been significantly better for an adventure bike. Well, if you stuck around, I do appreciate it, and take care.